Guys, around 90% of traders end up closing trades in a loss, even after being in profit. And the surprising part is, the market isn't the real reason behind it. It's actually their own mind. Think about this for a second. Have you ever been in a trade that was going well and showing profit, but you still closed it early, just because you felt scared it might reverse? Or maybe you've taken a trade out of frustration, anger or FOMO without properly thinking it through, and later you realized it was a mistake. If that sounds familiar, then the issue is not your strategy. The real problem lies in how your emotions are influencing your decisions. In today's video, we're diving into Lesson 13 from the Daily Trading Coach, where Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains how our feelings, especially negative ones, quietly interfere with our ability to make the right trading decisions. He points out that almost every trader goes through the same patterns: exiting winning trades too early, entering trades without proper confirmation, ignoring stop losses completely. These are not rare mistakes. They are extremely common, and most traders repeat them again and again. Now the important question is, why does this keep happening, even when we already know what the right thing to do is? The reason is the mental pressure we experience while trading. It affects how we think in real time. When your mind is under stress, it becomes very difficult to stay logical and disciplined, and instead of following your plan, you start reacting emotionally. For example, imagine you enter a trade and it starts moving in your favor. Everything looks good and you're sitting in profit. But then the market pulls back slightly and suddenly fear starts building inside you. At that moment, your mind begins to convince you to exit quickly, just to protect the profit, even though your strategy clearly says you should hold the trade. As a result, you exit early and miss the bigger move. In a similar way, when you face a series of losses, frustration and anger begin to build up. Instead of stepping back and staying patient, you feel the urge to recover your losses quickly, and this leads to revenge trading. You start taking trades impulsively, without proper analysis, and that usually makes the situation even worse. On the other hand, when the market is moving strongly in one direction and you feel like you are missing out, FOMO takes over. You jump into the trade late, without a proper setup, and often you end up getting trapped. These emotions, fear, frustration and FOMO, are some of the biggest challenges every trader faces. And if they are not controlled, they can completely destroy even the best trading strategy. The reality is, most trading mistakes are not caused by a lack of knowledge or poor chart reading skills. They are caused by a lack of self-awareness and emotional control. Many traders blame the market for their losses. But in truth, the problem lies in the decisions they make under emotional pressure. Understanding this is the first step toward becoming a more disciplined and consistent trader. Now let's understand this with a few simple examples. The first mistake is when you take a good trade, but the market moves slightly against you. And out of panic, you exit the trade before it even has a chance to turn into profit. The second mistake happens when you wait the entire day for a proper setup, but nothing really forms. And in the end, out of frustration, you take a low-quality trade just for the sake of being in the market. The third mistake is when you look at a chart and feel like a big move is about to happen, so you jump in immediately out of fear of missing out. And that same entry later turns out to be one of your worst trades. The fourth mistake is when you are unable to accept a loss. So you remove your stop loss, and what started as a small loss slowly turns into a much bigger one. Now the question is, how do we get out of this cycle of mental pressure? Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains that making mistakes is completely normal. But what really matters is when you are making those mistakes. When you are still learning and your capital is small, the mistakes you make can actually become a form of investment in your growth. Just like mistakes in dating eventually help you understand what works and guide you toward a better relationship, mistakes made in a simulator prepare you for real trading conditions. The key idea here is simple. If you make mistakes in your early phase, but approach them with the right mindset, those same mistakes can turn into your biggest strengths over time. So if you are at the beginning of your trading journey, don't be afraid of making mistakes. Instead, observe them carefully, write them down in your journal, and try to learn something new from every single one of them. Because in the end, real success comes to those who are able to extract the maximum learning even with limited capital. A lot of traders believe that when the market is slow, boredom kicks in, and that leads to overtrading. When the market moves against them, frustration builds up and they start taking impulsive trades. But Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains something very important here. If the market was truly responsible for our emotions, then every trader would feel exactly the same way, in the same situation. But that's not what actually happens. One trader can sit patiently in a slow market, while another trader keeps taking trade after trade in that exact same condition. One trader sees a reversal and calmly accepts the stop loss, while another reacts with anger and ends up increasing the loss even more. So the real question is, what is the actual trigger? The real trigger is your internal programming, your past experiences, and your unmet expectations. Let's understand this with a simple example. If you have missed a good opportunity in the past and felt regret about it, then the next time you see a similar move, you are much more likely to react quickly. It may feel like the market is forcing you to take the trade, but in reality, it is your own fear of missing out that is pushing you. Emotions in trading usually show up when your mind starts resisting reality. The market is simply doing what it does, but you are the one reacting to it. If you truly want to control your emotions, then instead of only watching the market, you need to start observing your own reactions. You cannot control the market, but you can absolutely work on your mindset. So the next time you feel like blaming the market, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is this really because of the market or is your past conditioning influencing your reaction? Emotional awareness is the first step toward control. Now imagine a situation. You are trading and the market is slow, moving sideways. In this situation, there are two types of traders. The first trader tells himself, this is not an ideal environment. So he updates his ideas, steps away from the screen for a while, and comes back with a fresh mind. He stays calm and no negative emotions build up. The second trader tells himself he has to make $2,000 today, no matter what. But the market is not offering enough volatility or opportunities. Now he starts thinking that if he doesn't make that $2,000, he has failed. And when a trader operates under the pressure of avoiding failure, it often leads to overtrading, frustration, and impulsive decisions that make things even worse. Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains that the market itself does not create emotions. It is our perception and the way we think that actually give rise to those emotions. Perception works like a filter between any event and our reaction to it. If this filter becomes distorted, we start seeing even neutral situations in a negative way. Let's understand this with a simple example. If you believe that you must make a profit every single day, then any slow or choppy market will start to feel like a threat. But if your belief is that every day is an opportunity to learn something new, then the exact same market will start to look like a valuable opportunity. At its core, trading is a game of perception. The way you see the market directly shapes how you react to it. If you can change your perception, the market will start to look different to you, even though nothing has actually changed on the outside. The market remains the same, but when your thinking changes, your reactions begin to change as well. And that is where real growth begins. The truth is, the market does not scare us. It is our own thinking that turns a normal situation into something that feels dangerous. Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains a very practical solution to this problem. He says that whenever you experience a strong negative emotion in trading, such as fear, anger, or anxiety, you should pause and ask yourself a simple question. Why am I seeing this market as a threat? This one question immediately shifts your focus toward your perception, the way you are interpreting the situation. Let's understand this with an example. On a Friday, Dr. Brett himself was trading. It was the last day of the week, and he wanted to close the week on a strong equity curve. In the morning, he found a good long trade setup. The market moved in his favor, and the position quickly went into profit. But as soon as the market pulled back slightly, he started feeling uneasy. Now logically, the trade was still perfectly fine. It was following the plan, and the stop loss was even at break-even. So the question is, why did fear appear? The reason was simple. He had a strong internal expectation of ending the week in profit. That expectation turned a completely normal market movement into something that felt like a threat. The market was simply consolidating, but his mind started interpreting it as danger. At that moment, he paused and asked himself, "Why am I feeling so uncomfortable in this trade?" And that changed everything. He realized that his perception had shifted. The trade was no longer just a setup. It had become a source of emotional pressure. Once he recognized this, he calmly reassessed his risk-reward, removed emotion from the decision, and managed the position logically. Instead of reacting, he responded with clarity, and the trade was handled properly. This is the key lesson. Until you become aware of your own perception, you cannot change it. Every time the market triggers an emotional reaction in you, pause and ask yourself, is this really a threat or just an illusion created by my mind? This awareness is what takes your trading to the next level. The difference in trading is not created by the market itself, but by your thinking. And when your thinking changes, your reactions change. And ultimately your results change as well. Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains that the real danger in trading is not in the market itself, but in our own thinking. The biggest challenge in trading is learning to distinguish between a real threat and a perceived threat. A real threat happens when the market is actually moving against your expectation or invalidating your setup. But a perceived threat happens when the market is behaving normally, yet your mind interprets it as danger. For example, imagine you are slightly in profit on a trade and suddenly the market goes sideways and you start feeling nervous. Why does that happen? Because in your mind, there is a belief that you must close the week in profit. That belief becomes a filter. And through that filter, even a normal pause in the market starts to feel like a threat. And that is where emotional reactions begin. But whenever this happens, the first step is to pause and observe your reaction. Ask yourself, why am I seeing this situation as a threat? Is this really a genuine market risk, or is it just pressure created by my expectations? Then ask yourself one more important question. What can I learn from this situation? If the trade is moving sideways, could it be a re-entry opportunity? If the stop loss gets hit, is it signaling a change in market structure? If your performance is flat, is it a sign that your strategy needs refinement? This kind of thinking slowly shifts you from a reactive trader to an observant trader. To build this awareness, Dr. Brett suggests a simple but powerful habit: journaling. Maintain a trading journal where you write what happened, how you reacted, what your perception was, and how you could have turned that situation into an opportunity. Over time, this practice trains your mind to make more neutral and logical decisions. In trading, the goal is not to eliminate emotions, but to understand and transform them. And once you learn how to turn perceived threats into opportunities, your psychology itself becomes your biggest edge. Now let's do a quick reality check. Do you ever find yourself saying things like, the market is useless today, nothing is happening, or the market is crazy? If yes, then these are not just casual words. They reveal your mindset. Dr. Brett Steenbarger explains that if your tone carries frustration, it means you are not learning from the market, you are fighting it. When you say the market is wrong, what you are really doing is trying to control it instead of understanding it. And that is where the problem begins. Smart traders don't fight the market, they accept it and adapt to it. If the market is slow, they stay patient. If the market is trending, they ride the move with flow. So next time you say something about the market, pay attention to your language and your tone. Because your words are a reflection of your psychology, and your psychology tells you whether you are aligned with the market or working against it. When you change your language, you change your thinking. And when your thinking changes, your results begin to change as well. So guys, this was lesson 13 from the Daily Trading Coach, where we understood the real reason behind emotions and trading decisions. We also learned how perception and expectations can lead to impulsive and frustrated behavior. And most importantly, how awareness and mindset shifts can help you turn every perceived threat into an opportunity.